In this video, I'd like to give you an overview of the different types of in-the-ear hearing aids, or as we normally call these hearing aids today, custom hearing aids. We use the word custom simply because each hearing aid will be individually custom designed or built for each individual person. So in order to make these hearing aids, we need to take an impression of your ear canal. We then scan that impression, and then we send that scan by email to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer uses the scan using a 3D laser printer to be able to develop a shell. So as an example, this is a in the canal styled hearing aid. So that shell would have been made from an impression of someone's ear. So each hearing aid has to be custom built, and then into that shell will be placed the electronics of the hearing aid. And so each one of these is going to be custom built. So there are a number of different styles of these, and they have certain limitations depending upon the particular style of the hearing aid. So let me start with the very smallest. So the very smallest hearing aids typically are the most popular. These are the ones that most people will typically seek out initially because of the appearance. That's a tiny, tiny little hearing aid that sinks deep inside the ear canal. So the idea of this is that it sits nice and close to your eardrum. And the faceplate of the hearing aid is typically black, because once you look down inside the ear canal itself, it's very dark. And so even though you would be looking at the tip of the hearing aid itself, it just looks like a dark cavity in your ear. So these are called an invisible in-canal hearing aid for that very reason, that they're designed to be invisible. Now, obviously, when you have a hearing aid that size, as opposed to a hearing aid that size, you're going to be able to put a lot more into this hearing aid than what you will into this. So there are limitations with these very small ones. So typically with the very smallest hearing aids, they will only have one microphone and they will not be wireless. So if a hearing aid has only one microphone, it is omnidirectional. It picks up sound from all around you. It doesn't have the ability of picking up sound from in front, and therefore it's not capable of reducing a lot of that extra background noise. So if you need a sophisticated hearing aid to control the background noise, this really isn't going to be the product for you. However, if you're cognitively very alert and you want a hearing aid that's totally hidden, or for practical reasons you want something that's just going to be locked in, out of way, then that's an ideal solution for you. Now, as the hearing aids become a little larger, then typically they start to acquire more functionality. So the very smallest hearing aid that you can get these days, that would be a wireless hearing aid and have two microphones, would be something like this. And this is called a mini canal. Now, all of these very small hearing aids run on a tiny little size 10 battery. And obviously, because they're so small, the other drawback is the battery doesn't last all that long. And particularly if you're now running a hearing aid that is wireless and it has the two mics, it's going to be doing more work in terms of reducing background noise. That battery's not going to last as long either. Okay, so with most of the hearing aids, that would be this sort of size. You will find that you'll need to wear a streamer so that the hearing aid itself doesn't have the Bluetooth built inside, and so it'll run at a different frequency. So you'll need a converter to take the signal, the Bluetooth from your mobile phone, convert it to a different frequency that the hearing aid operates on. Okay. Now, when you go to these larger models, then this is where the hearing aid will become fully featured. So these will have the two microphones, and they will also be Bluetooth. And so, for instance, this particular product here, this is a Phonak hearing aid. This is the Verto Black. And this hearing aid is being designed so that it doesn't look like a traditional hearing aid. I saw a client just recently, and they had one of these little earbuds which came with a Samsung mobile phone, and similar to the little white ones that you'll see from Apple, which sort of stick down out of the ear. And they're a high-tech earbud. And that's what these look like. So the idea of this hearing aid is that it doesn't look like a hearing aid. And so very clever concept. No one will know that you're wearing a hearing aid. It just looks like the latest high-tech gear. And yet this is fully functional. So you're going to be able to stream music from your mobile phone straight into the hearing aid, take phone calls, etc., without having to wear any other gadget. So really, really good. Plus you're not going to sacrifice any performance in terms of noise reduction, etc., simply because, again, the two hearing aids are going to be talking to each other and they've got the two microphones. So these will be a fully featured hearing aid. So the only other consideration when you're getting an in-the-ear type hearing aid, irrespective of which model, is you want to make sure, typically, if you've got a mild to moderate hearing loss, that the hearing aid has a vent. So you need a hole running right through the side of the hearing aid. Otherwise, it will plug your ear. And when your ear is plugged, it's like you've got a head cold. So you're going to hear your voice reverberating inside your head. And for most people, that sounds very artificial, and often they'll reject the hearing aid because of that. If your hearing loss is a little more severe, then even though we block your ear, you will notice the occlusion effect of the ear being blocked. But mild to moderate losses, particularly if you've got low frequency, you've got to make sure that you've got a good sized vent. If you've got a very narrow ear canal, that's going to be problematic. In which case, though, if you go for the larger hearing aids, obviously we've got a lot more room to be able to get a vent inside a larger hearing aid than what we do if we're looking at some of the very, very small ones.